friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie, and today I am discussing all of the witchy reads I have read over the course of 2023. Let the magic begin. So actually this was supposed to be a vlog. It was supposed to come out in September. Here we are. It's late October at this point, and I realized I had to basically refilm a lot of stuff because I had lost footage. Things just weren't making sense. I actually started this vlog, if you can even believe it, in May. May is when I started reading these witchy books because I actually got a couple of them on my trip to England and Scotland, and that kicked off my desire to read a bunch of these books. And originally I was going to do this as a Green Witch vlog, and it was going to be out earlier this year, but that didn't end up happening. And then I wanted to do something at the start of fall to gather all of the witchy books that I've read, but a lot of stuff fell through there. So I just decided I would refilm it and let you know about the books that I did manage to read and talk about what this reading journey has been like. So I will be interspersing clips from my original vlog when I read these originally to give some real-time reactions to these books, but for the most part I'll just be recapping them because that's a lot easier for all of us. So what kicked all of this off was I visited this adorable witchy occult shop in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh does have a long history of witchcraft. It was the city that inspired the Harry Potter books as well as many other books in this genre. This shop was really so fabulous, and for a long time I had wanted to buy a little spell book. I kept seeing them, Barnes and Noble would have some witchcraft books, and I was always interested in just checking them out, but I didn't feel like it was appropriate just to buy them just for fun. But when I went to Edinburgh and I saw this occult shop, I thought this is the perfect opportunity. So here are the couple books that I did get from that shop. This one is called The Green Wiccan Spellbook, and I think my review of this book, this is the one that I lost the footage for, so I will just have to go back through it with you. And the next one I had is Mountain Magic, Exploring the Secrets of Old-Time Witchcraft. And I picked this one up, first of all, because of this stunning cover and gorgeous illustrations. It has really, really beautiful pictures throughout, just stunning artistry of plants, really so beautiful. I absolutely love it. I got this because I'm from Colorado. I'm from the Colorado Rockies, and Mountain Magic really called to me, but I didn't realize until I started reading this is actually the Appalachian Mountains. So it's talking about a very specific region of the United States and the witchcraft that is found there. So talking about these two actual witchcraft books, what I was trying to get out of them and kind of what I was thinking, I really just bought these for fun. I really just thought it would be fun to explore the idea of witchcraft on this level and engage with it a little bit differently. And truly my experience reading them was I was just in it to have a good time. It is important to note when talking about these kinds of books that are promoting real magic and anything that involves health or anything like that, the books do clearly state that these are not meant to replace traditional medicine, but they're just offering alternatives of things that may help you, but definitely don't consume any plants or anything without proper medical guidance. Starting off with The Green Wiccan Spellbook, a compendium of magical knowledge by Silja. This is really a tiny pocket book. It also has some illustrations and colored pages and stuff like that. But this is all about being a green witch. And the idea of this book is to be an introduction to magic. We can look at the table of contents, here we go, and the 3 things it covers are magical theory and practice, spells, and meditations and rituals. According to this book, the idea of being a green witch is really about protecting the home. It's about curating peace and happiness and safety within the home. And the idea is that it's not ever meant to harm in any way. So I was very interested in this book and just to kind of learn what kinds of spells and things it offers. And what it does do is it does tell you how to compose a spell. Basically, you can write your own spells. It's really just a matter of like, what do you want? And it'll, they have some suggestions, but you can actually just make your own spells. It tells you how to build an altar and use different colored candles. It talks a lot about kind of colors and chakras and what certain minerals and plants, what those things represent, and when to use what kinds of plants and things in what spells to enhance them. They say that you actually don't need anything to do the magic. You can just say a spell, but the objects are used to enhance the magic. There's stuff like love spells, there's stuff like friends and family spells, there's money spells, money and work spells, and really a lot of it is just how to bring about good fortune in every sense of the word. Energy rising meditations. It talks about some rituals and all of the pagan holidays, which we in contemporary modern America, at least, we pull a lot of our holiday traditions from pagan holidays. So it explains where those traditions came from and how it ties to the pagan holiday. For the most part, this book is really just simple and sweet, and at times it can be kind of silly. For example, one of the spells is just baking a cake. You could just bake a cake and say a spell over it, and it enhances it with love, kind of thing. Like, very much cozy, wholesome witchcraft. I think this is just a fun book for me to have in my house. It's very cute and definitely hits the vibes that I wanted. And then for the Mountain Magic book, this one is a little bit more historical. Oh, this is by Beyer, by the way. I don't think I said that earlier. This one has a little bit more historical context. It talks about where the people from Appalachia and the witchcraft specifically came from. It talks about how there is a lot of African voodoo influence in the South, as well as Christian influence. What I think is really interesting about this book in particular is that it does not poise witchcraft, spellcraft, paganism as an opposition to Christianity, but actually in this one, the author states that they're very much intermingled. There are a lot of people practicing witchcraft that are also Christian, and in fact, a lot of the spells mentioned in this book are also prayers. So I did think that that was very interesting, and I really liked that the author was talking about how all of these cultures came together to form this one very regionally specific type of witchcraft. And I felt that she was really respectful of all of the nuanced pieces that were involved there. A vast majority of this book is just a description of the plants that are specific to that region and how those plants would work in a potion or a spell, specifically like what are the properties of those plants. And again, this is definitely where I mentioned that it is important to realize that she does not consider this medical advice, and definitely absolutely never go forage without a professional, someone who really knows what they're doing when it comes to wild plants, because it's extremely dangerous. She puts warnings in there and she says, do not attempt to ingest any plants without learning from a qualified herbalist. Plants can cure, but they can also kill. So I definitely really appreciate that she is aware that this is potentially dangerous. There's a recipe for a spring tonic salad. Maybe I should try that. It's made with dandelion greens, wild onion grass, and chickweed greens. The book goes into different types of Wicca that are found in the region. The Appalachian witch or conjure person, witch doctors and charm doctors, water witches and dowsers, wart doctors. I read this a while ago. I don't remember what those are. Midwives, yarb doctors, burn whisperers, blood stoppers. It says, these are folks who could stop bad wounds from bleeding or persistent nosebleeds, sometimes at a distance just by saying the name of the patient. It is said that the verse used is the blood verse or the 6th verse of the 16th book of Ezekiel. So again, another example of how Christianity is very much tied to the Wicca in this part of the country. It also has a section for charms and curses, and it does go over some tools that Wicca use, including numbers, a holy twig protection charm, the Seder Rhodus square, which I actually just learned about from this book, but it's a very, very ancient tradition in witchcraft. It's used for protection to protect a home, and I think it's really cool. So overall, I just thought it was a lovely little book. There's not actually a lot of spells in here, so I didn't learn how to do any magic, but I did learn how to make a spring salad and a tonic if I ever so chose to do that. But mostly, I just think that these are just really cute, nice little books. They're gorgeous illustrations, and I think they really capture the essence of what especially Green Witch and Green Wicca are really about, which is just protection and being involved with the natural world and using nature to protect our spirits and our health, with a big caveat being never go foraging without a professional. Okay, moving on to the witchy novels that I read, starting out with one that I don't have with me, but I read it back in July. That is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanda.
Hello, good evening. I am touching in to say that I actually did just finish reading The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanda. And this is kind of a bonus book for this vlog because I did not originally have it slated in here. So that's very exciting. I just picked it up because I had it on hold at the library and my hold came in, so I did listen to it on audiobook because that's about the only reading I've been able to get done recently. But I did want to talk about it. It definitely fits the witchy theme, but the book does take place over the winter, so yeah, but it still very much fits the vibe, the theme that I was going for. So this book, in case you're unaware, it's a very popular book, so maybe I'm the last to tell you about it, but it is a very cozy, sweet, lighthearted, kind of feel-good story. It's very much in line with like House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klum. It's just a very like cozy, magical story about a witch named Mika. There is a little bit of romance, and it does get just a touch steamy, so that's kind of interesting. All in all, this is not a genre that I would really usually read, but I had been hearing good things about this one, and just anything witchy I'm very much into. So even though the genre was like pretty far outside of what I would normally read, I was curious about this one. It came in audiobook. It was easy enough to read. And honestly, I had a really good time. Like I found myself enjoying it. It's very British, charming, sweet. There's a lot of talk of teas and gardens and just a lot of things I really like. So I had a good time with this. The plot is not, nothing new. It's been done before, but I think that the writing was strong enough that it made me enjoy it, and just like it did deliver on the premise, and it did deliver all the things that I'm looking for in that kind of cozy, sweet, dash of romance kind of world. I really don't. There's probably a name for this genre of book. I just don't know what it is because I really don't read it. It's a magical little, just lighthearted story. It's very cute. It's very heartwarming. It has magic. It's exactly what you think that it's going to be when you pick it up. It's exactly the mood and the vibe that people would want when they're going for something like this. So if you are looking for something lighthearted and just like wanting to just like feel like a nice cup of tea, this is the book. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would have rated it a little bit higher, but I did think that the plot was like we've seen this done so many times before, and it's not to say that it was bad, but just like it does feel like something that for whatever reason is like particularly kind of a trend right now. So I kind of wish it would have done something a little bit different, but I loved so much else about it. Like, I did not give House on the Cerulean Sea as high of a rating, to be honest. Everyone loves that book. I kind of never really liked it. I liked it actually in like the first chapter, and then I stopped liking it quickly after that. But this one, actually, I was very, very pleased with.
This book is very popular, so I probably don't need to tell you what it is, but I will. It is a very sweet, cozy, witchy romance in which our protagonist, Minka, who is a witch, is invited to this mansion where they are said to be housing 3 young girls who are also witches. The witches have to live in secret, and they're also not supposed to live together because it is very dangerous. Their magic is more powerful, and therefore it'll be found out and it puts them in danger. But the caretakers of these 3 young girls really want them to learn how to use their magic properly, and they need a teacher. So they invite Mika to go and live in the house. It is there that she meets the brooding Jamie, who is one of the caretakers of the girls, and he is not so sure that this is a good idea. The vibes are amazing. The magic is really great. She makes these magical teas that she puts her spells into, and the house is on the ocean, and it's just so fabulous, and it's set in England. Like, the vibes are immaculate in this book. So, I mean, at this point, how many more people have to tell you? If you have not read this book, just go and get it. It's really cute. It's a lovely romance. I was definitely rooting for the romance. Great time all around. Next up, I read Weyward by Emila Hart. And this definitely fits into the kind of green witch vibe that I was going for initially. This book, when I got it from Book of the Month way a long time ago and earlier this year, this was another reason that I wanted to do this witchy vlog, because I really wanted to read this. And I mean, look at this stunning, gorgeous cover. Weyward follows the story of 3 generations of women braided across 3 vastly different time periods. One of them is a woman who's being accused of witchcraft in the 1800s. The next one is a girl who is forced out of her home in the 1920s. And the last one is a present-day main character who is escaping an abusive relationship. Hello. It is September 1st, and I have just finished Weyward by Emila Hart. I'm happy. I'm happy that I have finally read this book. I got this book in like February of 2023, and it is now September, so it's been on my shelf for a while. I was saving it for this occasion, and I finally get to talk about it. Okay, Weyward. So, as I've mentioned in my other updates, this is about 3 women in 3 timelines, and they're all connected in some way. I think the way is pretty obvious, but I won't say it because I don't think that it's listed in the synopsis on the book jacket. So anyway, they all visit this cottage, Weyward Cottage, and they seem to notice that they are feeling some magic in the air, I guess is how I'll describe it. To be honest, this is not a very like magical book. Like, the magic is not this big element of it. It's very quiet magic. It deals a lot with nature. It deals a lot with animals and insects, as you can see from the cover, which I just think is so gorgeous. The magic is really just a very small part of this. Yes, it has a witchy theme, but it's like very much quiet, and it's not, you know, like cauldrons and broomsticks type of thing. It's very much like this magic that is found in the natural world, which was really nice. I've also mentioned that this is not exactly cozy. It does have some darker themes and some darker moments. Definitely read the trigger warnings if you're gonna pick this up, because it does deal with a lot of uncomfortable subject matter. So just make sure that if you're gonna pick this up that you know, do check the trigger warnings here. This is also like a very hyper feminist story. Like the point of this book is very much to tell this overarching generational feminist tale. And while I was concerned at first that it would be too heavy-handed, I think that actually, like, by the end, it did feel very, very natural to the story. It felt like integrated. It felt like it was very much a response to the story rather than like it being shoehorned in or something like that. It's overt, like it's not subtle at all in its feminist overtones, but I think that the story is strong enough and that the story lends itself to those discussions very naturally that I didn't feel like too over the top in any kind of way. Like I really enjoyed the integration of the themes, though, you know, just to be clear, it is definitely very overt. I really liked this actually. Like I think I'd probably give it 4 stars because the writing is really, it's really well done. And I think that the way that the story is told in like this braiding kind of weaving pattern, it works really well. It keeps the pace moving, even though at almost, it's 330 pages. So not a long book by most people's standards, but I just like, oof, I could definitely feel it at about like 225 pages. I was like, we still have a long ways to go. And it's just because I don't like long books, and I do kind of struggle with, once it hits that 200 page mark, I'm like, okay, we gotta be wrapping this up. And it is certainly not wrapping up at that point. So it did feel like it dragged a little bit, but there was enough intrigue. Just it kept it moving. The chapters were really short, and actually, like, I think that it was well done. All the connections between the 3 timelines were done really well. Nothing groundbreaking, but just a very well executed and a well thought out, thought-provoking story. I liked all the references to nature. I liked the story of these 3 women and how this was just a very empowering story. Like this is really about feminine power and women. And it's very much just about how women have just long been undervalued, even though women are the one that bring people into the world. Like truly, women are magical beings, and that is really the core and the heart of this story. And I thought it was done really well. I'm really happy to have finally read this, and I definitely think it's something that I will be keeping on my shelves and something I'll continue to think about. And I know that I probably have lots of people I could recommend this to in the future. So well done, Emila Hart. I really enjoyed this one. But yeah, overall, I felt like this was a really sweet and powerful feminist story. There was a bit of magic. I really liked it. I mean, I felt like all the characters, all the stories were very accessible, and there are definitely some dark moments. There are some disturbing aspects to this book, but overall, it's a really hopeful and inspiring message, strong themes. I had a great time with this. And then finally, I actually did intend to read Ink Blood Sister Scribe for this video, but didn't work out. I ended up DNFing it very, very early, like within 30 pages. So that's why this whole thing got pushed back. Yeah, I had a lot of problems with this right off the bat. First of all, it reads a little bit kind of YA-like for me. I don't know. There's something about the writing was just not up to my standards. That sounds really bad, but just like there's just something about the writing style that just was bugging me right away. And then also on top of it just feeling kind of immature, I also felt like just the structure of the sentences was like not done correctly, to the point that it was annoying me. And then on top of that, it also seemed to be a little bit too derivative of several different witchy properties already in existence, including, of course, practical magic, which, you know what? If I hear one more freaking book compared to practical magic, I am going to lose my mind. Like, please, like, let's stop comparing everything to practical magic just because it has witches in it. But with that being said, this actually does feel really derivative of practical magic because the two sisters are like separated and like kind of estranged a little bit, and that it was just too derivative. And then on top of that, like there was just other things that I was like, I feel like I've seen these ideas done but better in other places. I was really in the mood for something a little bit darker, like a dark witchy story, because I had been reading so much light, fluffy witchy stuff, and I ended up deciding to go with The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I had read Alexis Henderson's work previously with House of Hunger, and it was okay for me. It felt very cinematic and, you know, I liked it, so I was interested to see what this would do. And this one was kind of a surprise for me. I was very intrigued right away. This is actually kind of a semi-fantasy story because it does not take place in our world. It takes place in a different world. And I do think it is YA because the character is 17 years old. And definitely, you know, I'm not a fan of YA, so there are some elements that just did not really work for me. There is a romance in here, but it's like kind of lame. And just the YA elements just don't work for me, but the rest of it really did. And that is because this story takes place in the mythical land of Bethel, which is a fundamentalist religious community. Our protagonist, Emmanuel, she is basically just her existence is a sin because her mother had her out of wedlock and her father is darker skinned. So there is a bit of element of race criticism here, and just in general, women in their community are treated terribly. One day, Emmanuel goes into the dark woods, a place that you are absolutely never supposed to go, and by accident sort of brings upon these witches that curse the land of Bethel with 3 plagues, and the witches are so fun. Like, they are genuinely dark. They're not really human. They're kind of like this otherworldly creature, and they are dark. What I think, like, both Alexis Henderson books that I've read now, they're just so cinematic. Like, I can see this being a movie. I can feel the atmosphere. It is very dark. It's grim. There's a lot of blood and just darkness everywhere. The plagues are vicious. The witches are really pretty freaky, honestly. I really enjoyed it because of its unique and dark elements, and it just hadn't felt like a story that I'd read before, which is honestly pretty hard to come across these days. So I really enjoyed this. The writing is also really strong, and even though it is YA because of our character age and some just obvious YA elements, the writing is strong enough to kind of elevate that for me. I really felt like the writing, it does kind of emulate an older style. Like, it's supposed to sound like the characters are in the 1800s, but really because of that elevated writing style, it helped me to ignore the YA aspects of this, and I ended up having a really good time with it. Both of these 2 novels, plus Secret Society of Irregular Witches, they are really different, and they all do the witchiness aspect really different. I'd say if you want like true magic, I think Irregular Society of Witches would be the way to go because that is the most true magic, but it is very cozy, it is very sweet. The next one would be Year of the Witching, which does have magic, but it's very dark. It's dark and it's not exactly like spells, it's more just some creatures are magical, so it's kind of more of a almost fantasy element of it, but overall just the tone of it is very dark. And then lastly, Weyward, which I did enjoy this one. I just think it doesn't have as much magical elements. They are there, but they're very, very subtle. And it's definitely going for the Green Witch concept. So there you go. Those are all of the witchy reads that I have read this year. It's been a long time coming to get this video out and talk about these books, but for the most part, I really did enjoy my time. These two books I will absolutely recommend in the future, and of course Irregular Society of Witches if you're into that kind of thing. But I really enjoyed my time learning how to be a witch. But I do think that there is still a perfect witch book out there for me somewhere. I don't think these necessarily hit everything I was looking for in a witch book, but they're all unique and different enough that I really appreciated my time reading them. So maybe we'll do this again next year. Maybe we'll see if there's more witch books out there. If you have any witchy books that you recommend, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, week, month, year, witchy season, and I will see you back here next time. Thanks so much. Bye.